I'm Anastasia Long. And we, along with, I think, like 5 other students, went to England over spring break. And this is our presentation. I'm just gonna give you some you guys can see. But the topics we're gonna cover is the academics, like what all we did, general information, logistics of travel, transportation, locations visited, food, weather in the homestay families, and then we'll have time for questions afterwards. So for academics, we had to take classes both here at Hinds and then while we were over there. So here we took a form with a lab that Mr. Crayson taught, and basically he made us do a bunch of random projects on random things. Like we had to do one on food, and Mr. Melanson went above and beyond and actually made his food, and then didn't bring it for the rest of us. So
That's true. I ate it. It's good.
And then we took
Okay,
some
nothing.
topics in English that Mr. Melanson taught, and it was just a bunch of writing and like creative writing. They teach us like different ways to describe things and just really get into our writing. We also had to keep a journal for him about our trip, so that way we got to like put our writing into practice. And then over there we took Mississippi versus England law that Miss Karen Crowley taught, and she introduced the class like, let's talk about murder. So it's actually a very interesting class. We talked about the difference like in the laws and whatnot, and like how people would be punished differently. And we also took a creative writing class that the other lady taught about Frankenstein, and it was kind of similar to Mr. Melanson's, and we got to create our own little short science fiction story. And we also revived picnic tables.
Okay, so some general information I'm going to be going over is location, size, and some of the basic cities that we visited. Location, England is located in Northern Europe and is part of the United Kingdom, which contains Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland. This is the United Kingdom right here, and then this is England over here in this area. Okay, the United Kingdom is approximately 151,372 miles. That's including all those other countries I was telling you about. That's not just England. Mississippi is approximately 75,489 miles, significantly smaller than the entire United Kingdom. Texas is really big. It's like 421,321 miles, so it's like twice as big. Okay, so if you drive from London to Salisbury, it can be approximately roughly 80 to 90 miles. But if you're going from Jackson to Tupelo in Mississippi, that's like 172 miles. Here's a visualization. I don't know why that's on there. A visualization of the United Kingdom. England cuts off about right here. Here it is compared to Texas. Alright, some basic cities that we visited was London in red, Salisbury blue, Bath is orange, Bristol's green, Bridgewater is purple, and Glastonbury is in between the two cities that we visited. Okay, so logistics of travel. I wanted to talk about the luggage because that was one of my major concerns whenever I heard about this trip. I didn't know what we were allowed to have, so I decided to put that up here. You get one check bag, one carry-on, and then one personal item. The transportation that we use is an airplane, a van, a bus, and a subway, and they call it tube in London. The currency we use is British pounds. £1 is equivalent to $1.32. That really adds up over time.
Okay, so for transportation, when we flew from Jackson International to Dallas Fort Worth, which is about like an hour, hour and a half. Like I think going there was an hour, coming back was an hour and a half. And then from Dallas to London, going there was about 8.5 hours, coming back was about 9.5 hours. So highly recommend a Z-Cool, Benadryl, like you're gonna wanna sleep because that layover, jet lag is hard. You can ask the others. And then we took the tube. When we got to London, Mr. Grayson made sure that we knew how to read a map and like get on the right one. Make sure that you read the front of the tube because like the circle line has 2 different ones that go go two different ways, and me and two of the other girls thought we got on the one going back to our hotel, and we went the opposite direction. Sorry about that. And then they call vans minibus, so you hear them refer to a minibus, it's just a regular van. And that's Paddington Station, it's humongous.
Alright, so the first day we got there, we got off the flight and we went straight over to Windsor Castle. Basically royalty has lived there for at least 1,000 years. It's a huge castle. The other one is the cathedral. At the cathedral, we went to Eaton and Song, which is basically where they sang it's like a normal church service, like a Lutheran church service. That would be the closest I could compare it to. And then the next day is where we actually did a tour of it, and that's where we saw the Magna Carta. The Magna Carta is basically where it says the government is, or the royalty is not above the law. The next one, there it is. Stonehenge. We went there and it's like, we got there and we're like, those are some big rocks. Yep. Abigail is a huge fan of it, so if you have any questions, you can ask her. But yeah, those were some big rocks. Bristol, it became very fluent and large because of the slave trade. We did go to the museum first, and then after that we sort of toured. But it became large because of the slave trade. Also over there is the SS St. Martin. That's actually where a man, he created and helped combine and invent a steamship that goes across the Atlantic. It crossed the Atlantic in 14 days. Found out the man was Brunel. I had no idea who he was. I bought a figurine, a Christmas figurine of it. I was like, cool, who is this guy? Okay. And then my host family knew who he was. I had no idea. The other one, turns out, who knows Wallace and Gromit? You've heard of it? Okay, yeah. So it turns out Bristol is also the home of Wallace and Gromit. So claymation, I had no idea. While we were at the museum, I was looking around and I was like, hey, I see paintings of like claymation, what is this? And turns out I asked, and it's the home of Wallace and Gromit. He had some paintings of claymation throughout the museum. There we go. And then of course Rome baths, very well known for Rome. You know, they have baths there. We toured there, and then also while in Bath, they had the Frankenstein Museum and the Jane Austen Museum next door. Also, as you can see, there's the cathedral right in the background. Turns out that a place over in England is not considered a city unless it has a cathedral. Whereas here in America, it's like, oh, you have 100,000 people, it's a city. Over there, over in England, it's like, oh, you have a cathedral, it's a city. So if you have like 100,000 people in the place, guess what? You're not a city until you have a cathedral. And as of right now, a majority of English people or more English people are atheists. So chances of another cathedral being built, I don't think are very high, or at least according to my host. And then Wells, we went there hoping to see the cathedral. We weren't able to do so at that time, but we did go down one of the streets, and one of the streets, turns out it was the oldest street in England. It was 600 years old. I was like, cool. Even your streets are older than America. Great. And then we went to the marketplace. They did have fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. I ended up buying some of the grapefruit. The grapefruit was actually sweeter than even American grapefruit. So like ours are bitter. It's like, hey, I need something sweet, or don't eat it at all. But that one was actually good. They also have what was called pasties and a few other foods. And then after that, we went over to the tour. We went up this high hill. I had no idea what it was. Turns out that is actually the correct spelling, T-O-R. Whenever I first saw it, I was like, oh, it was spelled incorrectly. Why did Mr. Crayson spell it incorrectly? Like, he's an English teacher. No, it's actually spelled T-O-R. It's actually where the Avalon, home of Avalon and King Arthur legends are. Oh, I forgot. Frankenstein Museum. Okay, so back at the Frankenstein Museum, what it is that the top three portions, part of it was talking about Mary Shelley, and then part of it was talking about pop culture and how Frankenstein has been involved in like movies or television shows or things like that. The bottom floor, the basement, was actually where it was a maze to scare people. So the guy with the top hat that you saw, he scared people, and Peyton was a genius in this area.
So his real name's Ash, and I was talking to him because I went down there, and he was like a little scary, but not bad. But the girl beside me was absolutely terrified. So what we did, we were talking to him, and he was like, "Oh, you know what really scares people? When you go behind him and you whisper their name." And I was like, "Oh, so you see the guy on the camera over there with the long hair? Yeah, that's Mr. Crayson." So we were telling him some of the people's names, so he'd go up behind him and scare him. And we told him Davis's name, and Davis got so scared he got hit. He had a red mark on his face. But he had the biggest smile though. He was like, honestly, I'd rather react like that than just don't react at all. But he was really funny.
It was crazy, y'all. He was like, "Come play with me, Diaz." I was like, "You said my name!" You said my name!
And I got to watch the whole thing on camera. It was great. You could hear the screams too.
Oh, yeah, turns out Mr. Grayson actually does scream.
Prove it.
Yes, so then eventually we went over to London. We went to the National Gallery, so we had a tour of, this is how we do the tube. And so we went into the tube, and then over at the National Gallery, I was walking around, seeing the places, and spent like 2-3 hours just walking through the place. And during that time, like, all I did was take a photo of the painting and a photo of the descriptions. Didn't spend any time actually like reading the stuff. And during that time, I was like, wow, I'm going through it. I didn't even complete all of it, and it took me 2-3 hours in order to take a photo of every single thing, simply because of how large it is. So, and then basically, like, that was the first day we got to London, and then later on that evening, we all met up and we went to either Into the Woods or Phantom of the Opera. I went to Into the Woods. It's basically a musical. First time seeing it, I was a fan of Phantom of the Opera. I've seen it like 3 different times, 3 different ways. But yeah, Into the Woods was good. It's decent. Tell about your time.
Phantom of the Opera was good. The seating was bad. There was this lady in front of me whose hair was like 2 feet in diameter, so I didn't see much of it, but it sounded nice. Their voices were better than the movie.
Yes, I know the movie very well, and so I went in there thinking, okay, they're either gonna be worse than the movie, they're gonna be way better. The movie doesn't even compare with their singing, it's way, way better. But the seating is terrible. I was having to lean over the entire time like this, and that's like 3 hours, so.
Aching.
Yes.
Yay, okay, no, okay, Westminster Abbey, I would have to say was, and it's basically, I didn't know what it was, we got there, cool. Turns out basically, if you are dead, don't die tomorrow, but if you are dead and you are popular, it could be either scientist, poetry, or you made a contribution to society, or you were wealthy and you had enough money. You can either be buried at Westminster, or you could have a plaque put up there. So like Jane Austen, Stephen Hawking, Charles Darwin, even though like Charles Darwin is not a Christian at all, it's like, hey, you made a contribution to science. They're like, we'll go ahead and have like a plaque either on the floor or maybe on the wall in honor of you. There was the Bronte sisters were also up there for those who are huge English lovers. Also William Wilberforce. So the reason why I put down William Wilberforce is because England actually became super wealthy and rich because of the slave trade, of the Atlantic slave trade. And it's like, okay, how do you take an Atlantic slave trade and get rid of it? We don't have it nowadays. Well, what happened was that he figured out a way to bankrupt the Atlantic slave trade and basically get it illegalized. It took him like 27 years. He is my personal hero, and then a few days before he passed away, he found out that slavery itself was actually outlawed in England, all because of William Wilberforce. If anybody is interested in the movie, it is completely free. It's called Amazing Grace on YouTube. So yeah. And then that was that morning, Friday morning, and then in the afternoon, they're like, hey, you get free time, you can go do whatever, go enjoy yourselves in London. So I went to London Eye. I also, some of the people went to Buckingham Palace and were able to see the change in the guard. But yeah, I went to London Eye. The London Eye is basically, you're in a tube, a glass tube, and you go around. It's not as high as I thought it would be. It was cool though, so yeah. And then after that, or during that time, there was also a bus tour. It's a double-decker bus. You pay a certain amount depending upon like what kind of tour you want. So I ended up going on that, and basically they talk about the different areas as they pass around. One of the last things that they said before they got off was, please take everything with you as you leave the bus. Otherwise, if you leave it, just check eBay tomorrow. So, yeah.
Okay, so we had a lot of different types of food while we were there, but the first night after visiting Southbury Cathedral, or after we visited Southbury Cathedral, we went to a pub, and they had a lot of different things there. You had pizza and stuff like that. I got chicken tenders because I wanted to compare it to American chicken tenders. Completely different, but just as good. We went to eat at the Red Apron on the Bridgewater College campus, is where the college students actually cook the food or help prepare it, and it was really, really good. They had a really good apple dessert. Still don't know what that was called. This is from the market Wells. We went to the market. There was like one yearly thing that was going on, and they had food and everything. So I got that. And then this is the English breakfast from a restaurant that I ate at. That was probably the best meal I had on the whole trip, because you want all that food whenever you're on a trip. I had pizza and dessert with my host family as well. So we had a lot of everything. If you ask me, food is not as seasoned, but it's fresher tasting. It's like there's less preservatives in it, so that's like a plus. Yeah. The weather over there was crazy. It was doing all sorts of things. When we arrived at Windsor Castle, it was actually very clear looking. I think that's it. I can't remember. But the sun actually came out, and we got a good, nice, clean picture with the sky, clear. Then we went to, when I went to Stonehenge, I got to see it twice. I went in the early morning and then the afternoon. When I went in the morning, it was cloudy, but it had just stopped raining, so it was like not as wet. And then when I went later in the afternoon, it was just raining. It was terrible. It wasn't like a hard rain. It was just enough to be annoying, and it was soaking everything. Really, really cold. I saw a rainbow while I was getting out of the vehicle after arriving at the Bridgewater campus, and my host family, Miss Karen, she said that's a daily occurrence over there. They see rainbows every day just because that's how it works. And then the sun came out a lot more than I was expecting. I was thinking that it was going to be cloudy the entire time and I didn't see the sun. I saw it probably more than 20 times every day just because the clouds would break. The clouds are thinner. I mean, they're thick, but they're not like they are over here. It's not really good. And then the highest we experienced was like 75 degrees, maybe a little higher than that. And the lowest was like 35 degrees. It got pretty cold, especially at night. And it rained a lot. This was at the beach. The day we were going to go to the beach, my mother took this picture because they went out there, and they said you couldn't even see it a few minutes later. So.
Okay, we stayed with host families for most of it. It's like the first night we were in a hotel, the last 2 nights were in a hotel, but the vast majority was with host families. So the ones in the video, Becca and Finbar, they were my host family. Davis was with me, and they were the sweetest people ever. I was kind of nervous because I'm staying with random people. This is gonna be interesting, but they were really sweet, and they really go out of their way to make sure that you're comfortable, that like if you need anything, like they're there to help. And because of Stonehenge and it being raining and freezing cold, a lot of people ended up getting like sinusy and whatnot, and a lot of the host homes are like, oh here, let me go get you like medicine, so like they're there for you to help you, and they like help transport you and whatnot. So if you need to get from A to B, because they don't do stop signs, they do roundabouts. So driving there is really confusing, and it's the wrong side of the road, and the driver's side's on the wrong side, so it's very weird. And they love roundabouts, but they don't let you in. You have to like force your way into the roundabout.
You ain't somewhere, they ain't stopping for you.
So the host homes were really there just to help you, and everyone I've talked to has had a good experience. There was a little bumpy part for one of them, but they kind of cleared it up. So, but everyone I talked to, that was one of their favorite parts. And each host home is different, but they match you up really well with the family that you're staying with.
Okay. You go first.
Okay, so my favorite thing was definitely the people there. They were all like super nice and very funny. like to observe and kind of people watch, and there's always a funny moment. There's this little girl that was walking around with a school group at Salisbury Cathedral, and there was this like statue of a lady. I don't know what she was there for, but there was the statue of a lady. And when the little girl was looking, she was like 5, she goes, "Oh look, it's the Statue of Liberty." I'm like, "That's not what that is," but you go, girl. So there was always a funny moment here and there, and then people were very sweet.
One of my favorite things, if I had to pick a location, it would be Stonehenge, but I really like the history of, I'm in World Civ right now, so I'm learning literally about everything that we went and saw. So that was neat to actually see that in person. But the reason I think Stonehenge is my favorite is because of our tour guides. They made the whole experience worth it. They were completely into the zone. This was their thing. This like, everybody's got their thing, and this was it. They were just geeking out over it with me and my family. So that made it really one of the best experiences I had.
For me, it was Westonbury Cathedral, simply because seeing like, hey, you're famous, you're popular, sorry you're dead, but you're popular, so yeah. I would say that was definitely one of my favorites, and I'm like, okay, I can die happy now. I saw William Wilberforce, we're good.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, we got 5 minutes or so for questions if anyone has to.
So having gone to the trip, is there, like, if you would not have gone, would you